Moscow, Idaho was a quiet college town that epitomized tranquility, untouched by violent crimes since 2015. However, this serenity was violently disrupted on a November morning in 2022 when 4 University of Idaho students were brutally murdered in their off-campus home. But what could prompt such a horrific tragedy in this peaceful community? On the evening of November 12, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students embarked on what appeared to be a typical Saturday night. Ethan Chapin, a student majoring in recreation, sport, and tourism management, and his girlfriend, Xana Kernodle, an outgoing marketing major, attended a party at the Sigma Chi fraternity house from around 8 to 9 p.m. Madison Mogen, a dedicated senior in marketing, and Kaylee Goncalves, who was set to graduate in general studies, spent their evening at the Corner Club, a downtown sports bar, arriving there about 10 p.m. Chapin and Kernodle left the frat party and returned to their off-campus house at 1:45 a.m. Around that same time, Mogen and Goncalves were captured on video at the Grub Truck, a popular late-night food stop. They left the food truck after picking up their order around 1:50 a.m., and by 2, all 4 students were accounted for in their home. The early morning hours in the house turned grim as a silent predator executed a brutal attack. The assailant targeted the students in their beds on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the house, stalking from bedroom to bedroom, where the sense of sanctuary was violently breached. 2 other female roommates sleeping on the ground floor astonishingly remained unharmed and reportedly unaware of the tragedy unfolding above them. One roommate reported hearing ambiguous sounds like whimpering and a male voice reassuring, "It's okay, I'm gonna help you," but didn't fully grasp the situation until later. The community would soon wake to the reality of this heinous crime as the details of that night continued to unravel. The first clue that something was amiss came late in the morning. It was 11:58 a.m. when one of the surviving roommates on the first floor made a desperate 911 call, believing one of the victims was merely unconscious. When police arrived, they found the door to the house open with no signs of forced entry, suggesting the attacker was either known to the victims or had other means of access. The upper floors of the house bore the chilling marks of the crime, blood spattered across the walls and the lifeless bodies of the 4 students, evidence of the brutal assault they endured in their own bedrooms. The 2 surviving roommates reported nothing unusual during the night, a fact that puzzled investigators given the violence that occurred. Friends of the victims, summoned by the roommates before the police arrived, were also present, struggling to comprehend the horrific scene. In response, the university canceled classes and a somber mood enveloped the campus. Students and faculty grappled with fear and grief, facing the reality that such brutality had invaded their close-knit community and that the murderer was still loose. The Moscow Police Department spearheaded a meticulous investigation into the horrific stabbings, with the Idaho State Police and Latah County Sheriff's Office quickly joining the effort. Almost 130 law enforcement officers were mobilized to unravel the case that had so abruptly disturbed the peace of this community. Autopsies confirmed the brutal nature of the attacks, revealing that the victims had suffered multiple stab wounds in their sleep, with some showing defensive injuries. This pointed to a sudden and violent ambush. In addition to a knife sheath, investigators found a partial footprint near one of the victims' beds. No fingerprints were found, indicating the possibility of the assailant wearing gloves. Digital forensics played a crucial role, with investigators combing through hours of social media posts and phone records. They also used geofencing warrants to collect data from nearby cell towers, narrowing down the suspect's movements. Investigators began piecing together the timeline of events and the victim's last known whereabouts with nearby security cameras. A crucial piece of evidence emerged from these recordings: the sounds of whimpering, a loud thud, and a dog barking, all time-stamped around 4:17 a.m. This audio provided investigators with a narrower window in which the crimes likely occurred. Attention also turned to the mysterious movements of a white Hyundai Elantra, spotted by surveillance footage, making multiple passes near the victim's house in the early hours. The vehicle's repeated presence and hasty departure following the murders marked it as a significant lead. Attention shifted to Bryan Kohberger, a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University, less than 8 miles from the crime scene. He had no prior criminal record but was described by classmates as intense and unusually interested in crime scenes. Kohberger's movements around the time of the murders, coupled with subsequent evidence, became the focal point of the investigation. Investigators were particularly interested in the white Hyundai Elantra that had been captured making suspicious passes near the victim's house. Although Kohberger's vehicle was a newer model than initially described, it matched the general description, which led police to intensify their focus on him. A crucial piece of evidence was the surveillance footage showing a vehicle similar to Kohberger's speeding away from the neighborhood shortly after the murders. Further, cell phone data placed Kohberger near the crime scene on the night of the murders. His phone then stopped connecting to the network from around 3 to 5 a.m., the critical hours of the murders, suggesting possible deliberate deactivation. He then used a network close to the victim's house once again, only a few hours after the murders. A significant lead came from genetic testing. Investigators identified a partial DNA match from a sample found on the knife sheath at the crime scene to a relative of Kohberger through genealogy testing. This narrowed down their search considerably. Additional DNA was retrieved from the trash outside Kohberger's family house in Pennsylvania, and this confirmed the link directly. The arrest of Kohberger was dramatic. Taken into custody by an FBI SWAT team, he was found wearing gloves and sorting trash into plastic bags, behavior that investigators found suspicious and indicative of potential evidence disposal. A subsequent search of his house revealed a knife, a pistol, and a black face mask. This turning point in the investigation was met with a mix of relief and horror as the community and the victim's family began to process that the suspect was someone who studied criminal behavior academically. Kohberger's background and his proximity to the crime scene, combined with forensic evidence, painted a disturbing picture of a seemingly ordinary student leading a double life. Following Bryan Kohberger's arrest, the legal process moved swiftly. Charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary, Kohberger faced the judicial system under intense scrutiny. Local officials and police faced criticism for their handling of the case, particularly regarding communication with the victims' families and the public. The initial assurance that there was no threat to the community, which was later retracted, had caused confusion and fear. As more details of the investigation came to light, public meetings and press conferences attempted to address these concerns, with law enforcement urging patience and trust in the legal process. As Kohberger's case moves towards trial, the community remains vigilant, hoping for justice and answers to the painful questions that the shocking crime had raised. As Moscow, Idaho continues to heal from the horrific events, the community remains united in its pursuit of justice and understanding. The trial of Bryan Kohberger may offer some answers and closure to the grieving families and a shocked community. This tragedy has forever altered the landscape of a peaceful college town. As we reflect on the impact of these events, the story serves as a somber reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of community resilience in the face of unimaginable adversity. Thanks for watching. If you want something a little lighter, check this video out. If you want to stay dark, check this one out. Or if you want YouTube to decide for you, click here. Thanks everybody. I will see you next time.